This is number 8 in our series on 3 cosmic messages. This is entitled The Sabbath and the End. And of course, we're still in Revelation 14. Doesn't say anything specifically about the Sabbath in those verses. It talks about keeping the commandments of God, of course, and that would take you back to Ezekiel 20 and also to Deuteronomy chapter 5. And I think I would like to go there this time just to read that commandment, the Sabbath commandment number 4 from Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 12. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy as the Lord your God commanded you to do. You have 6 days to work and earn your living, but the 7th is the Sabbath to honor the Lord your God. On this day you must not do any work, not you, not your son or daughter, not your male slave or female slave, or your ox or donkey or any of your livestock, and not the foreigner who is staying with you, so that your male slave and female slave can also have the same rest as you. And then this is the really significant point that I would like to emphasize. Remember that you were once slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God led you out from there with his great power and incredible strength. This is why the Lord your God has ordered you to keep the Sabbath day. That's the reason, because of God's liberation from slavery in Egypt, the Exodus. That's what you're remembering in keeping the Sabbath. In the phraseology of Exodus 20, you have the 4th commandment as being a memorial of creation. This is why you keep it. But here you have liberation from slavery, the Exodus from Egypt. So you have 2 very powerful images there of reminders of why you keep the Sabbath. And so as we look at that this week, the Sabbath and the end, it really is a very tragic thing that many other Christians do not see the importance of the Sabbath from creation to the end. And we're given material there in James and Psalms and Revelation and 2 Peter as well, and Ephesians. So pick all those verses up and see what God is trying to say to you about the importance of the Sabbath. And don't forget that this isn't the way of thinking about the Sabbath that I'm afraid Jesus' opponents thought. You remember that they were very scrupulous in their Sabbath keeping, to the extent that they really objected what Jesus did, healing on the Sabbath. And then I find this one incredible. When he healed the crippled man's hand there in the synagogue on Sabbath, they went out to decide how they were going to kill him. Kill Jesus, that is. And I really do think that we can also get wrapped up in things which really aren't speaking well of God. By healing on the Sabbath, Jesus was trying to say something very powerful about who God was like. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I'm doing this to show you that God is a healing God. He's not into all these kind of minute little details of what you do on the Sabbath and how much you can carry and all the rest of it. Just don't do your normal labor on the Sabbath and spend time thinking about God. There's some great quotes in the notes for this time from Rabbi Heschel, and he wrote this incredible book called The Sabbath. I wish we could have written something very much like that. He begins in the notes we have, the Sabbath is a metaphor for paradise and a testimony to God's presence. In our prayers, we anticipate a messianic era that will be a Sabbath, and each Sabbath prepares for us for that experience. And I like to think of this eternal Sabbath that we enter on the other side of Jesus' coming, when we are home together with the Lord. That will be an incredible experience. And then he also points out, by the way, that the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, has no correlation to anything in the heavens. The movement of the earth around the sun is the year. The movement of the moon round the earth is a month, but the week, no, there isn't anything that describes that. So that's a very interesting point. And then this last one, to observe the Sabbath day does not mean merely to obey or to conform to the strictness of a divine command. To observe is to celebrate the creation of the world and to create the seventh day all over again, the majesty of holiness in time, a day of rest, a day of freedom, a day which is like a Lord and King of all other days, a Lord and King in the commonwealth of time. Some wonderful words that I would invite you to really think about and see how that applies in your life. May God bless you as you study this week.